Hi, I'm Ken Kessler, and welcome to the Sounds of Christmas podcast. If you're new to us, I want to start by saying thanks for joining us. If you're not so new, welcome back. Either way, I'm very glad that you're here. Now, to avoid any confusion, I want to start from the get-go and make sure everybody knows there's no music that will be played here. This is a place for conversation. I'll talk about Christmas music and some related topics, sometimes by myself and sometimes with guests. If you're looking for music, just go to soundsofchristmas.com and click on the tree or the player on the front page or on the Listen Now page. We play the best variety of Christmas music all year long. Well, except in October, when we play the best variety of Halloween music. I'm very happy to have singer-songwriter Sarah Reeves with us on this episode. Hi, Sarah.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. For those who don't immediately know the name Sarah Reeves, I just want to give a little background, little credentials. She had her first major label release, which was Sweet Soul Sound. That was, it was like 12 years ago now. And that went up to number 19 on the Christian Albums chart on Billboard, number 9 on the Heat Seekers chart. So a terrific debut. And over the years, she's written lots of songs for other artists, as well as for TV and film. You've probably heard her music on American Idol, ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, and Netflix. And here are some really amazing numbers. Over 38 million streamed songs. Another 20 million on Pandora. And as of last night, over 38 million views on YouTube. I know numbers don't tell the whole story, but really, wow.
That's true. Wow.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
It's weird. It's weird hearing all the numbers. I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah, it is. That's really that. Wow is the perfect word for that. Your new Christmas album just out is called More The Merrier, and I want to get to that in a minute, but this isn't the first time you've released Christmas music, and folks who listen to the Sounds of Christmas radio station have no doubt heard some of your songs before. There was a Christmas EP that came out about 7 or 8 years ago, and I think that was just called Christmas, and there was a single of God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen that made it to number 11 on the Christian Adult Contemporary chart, which is really cool for a Christmas song. I got all that right, didn't I?
You know what? I'm not sure about the last part, but if you have that in your notes, then maybe it is right.
Okay. Well, we'll certainly say it is. Wikipedia says it is. So.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So, what do you remember about deciding to record a few Christmas songs 7 or 8 years ago?
7 or 8 years ago, recording Christmas music. I've always loved Christmas music, and in the past, I have recorded Christmas songs that kind of matched my brand, more of the modern contemporary side. But with this current Christmas album that I have, the sound of Christmas that I listen to is the classics. You know, my husband and I, when we listen to Christmas music, we put on vinyl records of Ella Fitzgerald and Nat King Cole and Bing Crosby, and that's what makes me, get in the Christmas spirit. And so with this current Christmas album, I really wanted to recreate my own version of the classic, 1940s big band jazz era of music. So I think we accomplished it on this one.
Oh, I think so too. There is another Christmas EP that you did 3 or 4 years ago that was called Let It Snow, and that had an original song on it, Feeling Like Christmas, and I love that one.
Thanks.
You're very welcome. I always love it when an artist introduces something new to the Christmas music canon. I know that can be a little daunting because you mentioned some of the really heavy hitters in Christmas music, and it's hard to think that you're competing with that, and right. You're not really, but with Feeling Like Christmas, I think you evoked a lot of the sentiments that you were just talking about. It's just nice to hear something new and fresh, not to take anything away from Let It Snow. And I think the other track was Angels We Have Heard on High, because those are beautiful versions of those. But for me, the original stands out.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That one was a fun one to write.
Now, we've mentioned the new album a couple times, so let's kind of get into that. The new album is called More The Merrier. And
Yes,
I think it's about half and half with original tracks and covers. Is that right? About right?
that's correct. Yes, four
Okay.
originals and four covers.
You talked about a lot of the ways that you get into sort of the Christmas spirit, and that this album has that big band kind of feel. Was there anything that you had to do to sort of get inspired beyond that to either write the songs or record some of these other songs that you love?
Yeah, so I've actually been working on this Christmas album since April of this year, which, is a little hard to get in the Christmas spirit when it's hot outside. So a lot of these songs, it's 100-degree weather in the summer, and I'm going in knowing that I'm about to write a Christmas song. Um, and so we would kind of go into rooms, and usually there's some kind of monitor TV screen, and we would put on like the fireplace, um, that just kind of stays on the screen. I think it's on Netflix. And or we would bring in Christmas lights or some kind of Christmas decoration to make it feel like Christmas, to make it feel cozy, so that we could go in and really be inspired to write and record these Christmas songs. So that helped a little bit. But even writing the originals on the album, I had to kind of be particular about the writers that I was partnering with and the producers, just to make sure that they had some kind of history of that jazz, background, or just a knowledge and understanding of that classic feel that we accomplished for this record. So I really had to kind of get in that mindset, and at times would be like, okay, what would Ella do here for this melody, And we really, everything, just for me, it was very important that it was going to sound as classic and as timeless as possible. So yeah, it was fun. I will say, I'm ready for Christmas this year
Oh
because
yeah.
I've been in Christmas mode. So I'm like, okay, it's time. I'm ready for the weather to start getting cool.
I know you've referred to this as a kind of jazzy big band record, and even so, there's some different styles to the different songs that you use on this album. Like "Go Tell It on the Mountain" is a bouncy, gospely R&B
Mhm.
kind of feel, and then you've got "Winter Wonderland," which is much more of a bluesy jazz sort of thing. If anybody who's listening to this may have heard, certainly probably heard those songs before, but you haven't heard them like this, and I mean that in a good way, of course.
Mm.
um, I just love it when an artist takes a song that we all know and makes it their own, but still stays true to the original, and that's got to be a tough line to walk, but I think you did a great job with that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That means a lot.
I'm sure that it must have been difficult taking a song like "Go Tell It on the Mountain" that we all know and coming up with this sort of arrangement. Did that just kind of pop in your head for that, or was it suggested, or was it inspired from something else?
Well, when we were picking the songs for the album, we were scrolling. I was with my producers, and we were kind of scrolling through Spotify and just listening to all the different versions of all the Christmas songs. And with Go Tell It on the Mountain, I was a little hesitant to do that one because it has been done so much. But I did notice that there weren't a ton of females that have recorded that song. And also just the way that we did it, it was just a little bit different than some of the ones out there. Um, and I knew that if we were going to do a cover and make it a single for the album, that it would be fun to kind of add my own section to it, to really kind of change it up even more to make it stand out. So we chose this one, and honestly, I have to give credit to my producers because they're the ones that arranged, all the music, and we had live jazz musicians come into the studio, which was unlike any other experience I've had as well. Um, because a lot of times it's just, we're working on our laptops and maybe we have a piano and a guitar as far as real instrumentation goes. But with this, guitars, drums, piano, upright bass, strings, everything's real, most of it's real. And so, it was fun to kind of come up with the ideas for each cover and trying to really make it timeless, but also make it my own.
And I would think with all the moving parts to this, like you're talking about with the whole big band, this would be a difficult show to sort of put together to do this live. Are there any plans to do some Christmas shows?
You are correct. I've been thinking about that. We are doing a couple this year, but probably won't do a tour until next year, just because it's kind of a big undertaking and there's still things that aren't fully open yet with COVID. And so, but I think I just want to have time for this album to get out so that people are familiar with it. And then next year, hopefully plan a big Christmas tour. So we'll see.
That would be great. I'd love to see that, just in listening to these tracks. And of course, it's not the same live because there's the energy of the audience and there's the fun of the performance. So it would be a little different. But with a whole big band, I think that would be a lot of fun. So after finally seeing this album that you've been working on since April, and it gets out into the world now, aside from the done, finished, it's out there. What's next? Are there plans next, or are you going to try and breathe and then think about what's next?
Well, so we actually finished the Christmas album in July. So I've had a few months to kind of sit and breathe and reset. And now I am just now starting to write for my next album. So I'm constantly thinking at least 6 months ahead, if not a year ahead. So right now we're planning for hopefully a release in February. And hopefully I say that it's always like, oh, this is what I hope to happen. And then it usually gets pushed, but I'll just speak that out loud now in faith that we'll have another single, at the top of the year, and that will just keep continuing to release music. Yeah. I'm starting the next chapter as we speak right now. I'm in LA working with some producers and writers here, and just really excited and feeling inspired again. So excited to see what comes out.
And I think for a lot of people who aren't in the music biz or some sort of adjacent business to the music industry, you don't always think about that there is a lot that goes into it, and you do have to think 6 months to a year ahead. You're talking about starting to work on this Christmas album in April, and a lot of people don't get that it takes time, and it's not just, and it's the writing of the songs and the arranging of the songs, both the ones that you've written and the ones that you're covering, and getting the musicians and getting the studio time and doing all of that stuff takes a lot of time. And it's not just the focus of this podcast is, of course, Christmas music, but it's not just that. I mean, your last non-Christmas album was Life, Love, and Madness, which I think came out about a year ago. And so it does take time to be able to do this kind of stuff. And you have to be thinking ahead. With all of that in mind, then forgive this next question. Are you thinking about any more Christmas music down the road?
Yes, actually. Yeah, we're thinking about maybe eventually doing like a deluxe to this. I think this album is like the one that I've always wanted to make for Christmas. So maybe next year we could talk about, adding a couple songs or doing some type of deluxe version. Again, I'm not sure, but I'm just, off the top of my head, that's what I've kind of been thinking about. But maybe in a few years, maybe when this one kind of, the thing about Christmas is it's something that becomes new every year. Which is, my other albums are not necessarily like that. So with this one, I'm hoping that every year more and more people will find it and they'll get excited about it and kind of make this a part of their Christmas listening collection. So, but we'll see. I don't know. Maybe in a few years I'll do some more stuff, some newer stuff.
And talking about a deluxe version, and that used to be a rarity that happened, and it happens more and more where artists do come up with an extra couple of songs and there's a new release, which is a great way to reintroduce their Christmas album to people who may not have had it before. And for fans, you get a couple new songs. And I had mentioned the EPs you did earlier, and it would be, not to try and stick my nose in and be a producer for you, but it'd be great to add those in a deluxe version. And there's 5 or 6 extra songs right off the bat that you already have.
That's true.
So there's a suggestion, and I won't take any credit for it. And I won't have my feelings hurt if when you're done with this, you think, boy, that guy's an idiot.
No, I love it. I love it. Thank you for that input.
Oh,
I love it.
You're very welcome. I know we've talked about More the Merrier quite a bit, and you've talked about the inspiration, and we've talked about a couple of the tracks. Is there anything else that you can think of you would like anybody to know about this new Christmas album that's just out?
I don't think so. I think we covered it. I think maybe my favorite song on the album is a song called Sentimental, and we wrote the song, and it's just one of those songs that I feel like every time I sing it, I just melt into it, which is very different from any other song I've sang. And just the strings on it, everything is just like, it's so beautiful to me. So that one, for me, is kind of the standout on the album. I don't know if that's something you want to add to that, but just one of my favorite songs is that Sentimental.
And I would just add that, and I've said this a couple times before to a couple other artists, but people are savvy enough now that when they listen to music, you can get a pretty good idea of who's sort of phoning it in and who is really singing something they care about, something they're connected to. And when you listen to the tracks on More the Merrier, it doesn't feel like you're not faking it. You believe what you're saying. You're into it. It feels like, you've captured that magic of Christmas in it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We put a lot of care and a lot of thought and detail into this project. And like you said, I feel like a lot of times that is rare because most people aren't really thinking about Christmas until kind of last minute, and they're like scrambling and they're like, oh yeah, we got to put out a Christmas song. And that's honestly how I've been in the past. But with this project, we were very intentional about what we wanted and took some time to really put that love and care behind the album. So thank you for saying that. That really means a lot.
You're very welcome. And I hope that everybody listening at least goes and streams this. If you don't go and just go ahead and buy it, you'll want to have this in your collection. What's the best way for people to keep up with you? Is it through your website or social media or both?
Probably social media. I'm on Instagram the most, which is just Sarah Reeves Music is my handle on Instagram. Or my website is sarahreevesmusic.com, and that will also take you to anything and everything out there. And I forgot to mention, there is also a video that we're releasing with this Christmas album, and it's kind of like a Christmas special. And so I recorded 4 songs in this video, 4 different scenes, 4 different outfit changes, and every song kind of flows into the next one. And so if you get a chance to check that out, that will be on YouTube as well.
Terrific. I was gonna suggest people go and check you out on YouTube too, because there's lots of videos, not just attached to More the Merrier, but your other Christmas songs, and also the rest of your repertoire of music, so you can get a good feel for a lot of what Sarah's about. So you want to go take a look at those too. Your website again is sarahreevesmusic.com, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so everybody can go there, and there's probably links to all the social media and YouTube, and I bet that people could buy your music there too.
Yes, they surely can.
Okay, so go to sarahreevesmusic.com right now, and you'll be glad you did. Sarah, this has been a pleasure talking to you. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure talking to you as well. Thanks for having me.
And thank you so much for listening, helping us share some Christmas spirit, and for helping this podcast continue to grow. Since you're listening now, you obviously found us somewhere, but if there's another site you like to use for podcasts, check out our podcast page on our website for the complete list of everywhere that you can listen to the Sounds of Christmas podcast. And again, the website is www.soundsofchristmas.com. Then just click on the podcast tab. For the Sounds of Christmas station, to listen to the music, you'll need to stick with our website or our app in the Google Play Store. If you have comments or suggestions, feel free to reach out to me on social media or through the website. Thanks again. And may you always believe in Santa Claus.